President of the Calgary Leadership Forum.
He is a progressive vote.
Hang on.
Thank you, Seth. Candidate number 4, Stephanie McLean, the Democrats, and candidate number 5, Susan Wright, Liberal.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone. For coming today, and I'd like to thank my fellow candidates for being here and participating in the democratic process. So I'm a lawyer, again, there's 3 of us, with over 26 years of experience in the energy industry. I started as a litigator with Bennett Jones, and then I moved in-house with Unical and Nova Corporation and Alliance Pipelines. I've worked on projects in Asia, Europe, the United Kingdom, and the US. I've been an executive with the oil company, the energy industry now for 18 years, and I know what makes our energy industry tick. I'm also a volunteer. I've volunteered all my life. I'm on the board of directors with the Calgary Heritage Initiative, which actually was instrumental in preserving the Alberta Park School. I've been judging law school moots now for more years than I can possibly remember. And I've been active with the Governor General's panel on women in the oil and gas industry. I'm a community activist. I like to jump in and help residents get through bureaucratic red tape. That's something lawyers do well. And I also write a blog called Susan on the Soapbox, which has received national legal recognition. Most importantly, though, I'm a wife and a mother. And I understand and have experienced firsthand the heartbreak that comes from having a healthcare system that is stretched beyond its needs and an education system that cannot possibly serve the needs of the students. And that's why I decided to take a break from my law school or my legal career and actually step into the political arena. Now, we all know that Alberta is the richest province in Canada, but what we can't figure out is why we have such lackluster results on the social equation side. And we seem to find ourselves in a situation where we have the highest high school dropout rates. Our emergency and surgery wait times are much too long. Our elderly and our frail are getting less than stellar treatment. Our environmental performance is hit and miss, with the result that our energy products are having difficulty getting to market. And while the new premier is busy eliminating things like planes and fancy license plates, that's just window dressing. And the real issues that matter to the people of Calgary Elbow are the things I'm hearing on the doorstep. Healthcare. Dr. Paul Parks, the head of the ER medicine sector of Alberta Medical Association, said that our healthcare system is on the verge of collapse. He waved the red flag in 2010, and the PC ignored him then, and the PC government is ignoring him again. In fact, when he tried to reach out to them, and to the unelected health minister and the elected premier, they said they were too busy to talk to him. Well, I'm not too busy to meet with healthcare professionals. I've talked to them, and the one thing I've heard loud and clear is that you've got to listen to the front line because they know where the problems are, and you also need to bring decision-making down to the more hospital-sized level. On the topic of education, the residents of Calgary Elbow are desperately worried that their children are being packed into schools like sardines, and they're not getting the attention they need for their special needs. The funding for education isn't just something you can just tie to inflation or dream up a hocus-pocus formula like the one created by our last MLA, Ms. Riley. We need a clear vision for education based on feedback from educators. And it's crystal clear to the people of Calgary Elbow that simply switching out the premier and putting in 2 unelected health ministers and unelected education ministers isn't going to change anything. Furthermore, the answer to our problems isn't, as some would have you believe, to simply privatize everything. Now, I'd like to talk about the flood. In 2013, we experienced a terrifically horrific tragedy and natural disaster. The BC government's solution to this flood was the classic case of too little, too late. And they promised to make flood victims whole, but the disaster relief program failed them completely. It's time for the government to keep its promise to pay out all the claims that have been requested by the recipients and to move forward with the provincial flood insurance program and also a comprehensive flood mitigation plan. One last point on transparency and accountability. You may have seen those orange signs that have been posted on the trees to Save Our Parkland signs. That actually is the result of a group of residents who are desperately concerned that a chunk of Hillcrest Park is going to be sold to a private investor, developer for his own personal use. So I said, public park is going to be sold. The public parks belong to the public. Municipalities are creations of the government. An MLA must step up to ensure that the municipality operates at the highest level of transparency and accountability. As your MLA, I will go forward and make sure that all levels of government are operating with the same level of openness and transparency. It's the point of collaboration that Brian was talking about. So I'm dedicated to this community. I'm dedicated to you as the residents. I need your help. I need your support. And I'm asking you to help me make Calgary a better place to live, work, and play. It starts here. It starts now. My name is Susan Wright, and I'm running for the Alberta Liberals.
Well, folks, I believe we've been well served by all 5 candidates for their clarity and their brevity. Let's give them one more round of applause. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask our 4 volunteers, Rob Warnick, Bruce Lee, Steve Chapman, and Roy Connection, that you stand and move towards the aisles. These 4 will be collecting question cards. If you have not already turned them in, please pass them on to one of the 4. We are going to take a 5-minute brush, flush, and rush break. And the reason for that is we have an opportunity for us to collate all the questions and be ready for the Q&A section. So folks, enjoy your time. Please turn in your questions cards for our 4 volunteers, and we will see you in 5 minutes. Let me do a quick check. I'm getting some feedback here. How many of you do like bow ties? How many do not? What is it back there? How many of you think it reminds you of alfalfa? I've been told there's a resemblance. I'd like to acknowledge a community leader that is representing the Alberta Society for Visually Impaired, and she is organizing a debate for Calgary Foothills for October the 15th. Would you recognize Stephanie Hawkins, please? So the mind can contain what the seat can sustain, so you've all had a break, we're ready to go. We do have to take care of business. I'm going to call upon Elaine Yost, who is on the board of an executive of the Calgary Leadership Forum, and she has something very nice. She would like to do us a round of applause.
Thank you so much, Brian. It's a pleasure to see you all here tonight, and thank you so much for coming. As we've been told by Brian and many others, the Calgary Leadership Forum is a group of about 1,800 members who are enthusiastic and extremely concerned citizens to ensure that we're as informed as we can be when it comes to these important issues that we're facing. The Calgary Leadership Forum has partnered with many organizations, with seniors, the Kirby Centre, multicultural groups, and many other organizations to host highly regarded debates and forums for anybody who's interested, so that we create opportunities for people to become informed. The Calgary Leadership Forum wants to create the most accessible opportunities for people to become engaged. So tonight, this event is costing approximately $1,500 for the rent of this wonderful facility. And we need your help to help us cover the costs so that we can continue to have these types of events. So if every 1,500 people could give us $1, it would cover our costs. If 150 can give us 10, then our costs would be covered. So I'm inviting you to offer a donation of whatever you can give to help us keep the forums rolling. Thank you so much for contributing, and thank you for your participation. We have 4 volunteers, Rod, Bruce, Steve, and Marika, who will be passing the baskets, and you can do that now. Thank you.
Wait a minute, I didn't hear as much applause on the way back as when she came up here. Let's thank you very much for this. So that's going to pass that right now, and by the way, if you need a receipt, please see us at the end and we'll look after that. So we're going to begin with 3 chosen questions that each of the candidates will get 3 minutes to respond to. I'm going to turn over this to the first question to Tony Morris of the Calgary Riverfront community. Tony?
Thanks very much, appreciate it. Thought I would forewarn you that there's no way that anybody from our group is going to be handed a microphone in a forum like this without jumping on a soapbox. So be ready. Thanks again. My name is Tony Morris. I'm with the Calgary Rivers Community Action Group. And we represent those living in affected communities along the Bow and the Elbow Rivers. And we advocate for the protection of Calgary's inner city and downtown core. I think it's fair to say that for many Elbow constituents, this by-election, and likely the general election in 2 years' time, is about one issue, the devastating floods of last year. We'd like to thank the Calgary Leadership Forum for the opportunity to ask the opening question tonight, which of course we'll use to ask 2 related questions. In fact, we provided each candidate today a more detailed questionnaire on all things flood. And we have posted that on our website at protectcalgary.com for everyone's reference and commend you to that. We look forward to your responses, which will be posted for our members' review and consideration. Our group came together to respond to thoughtless policy thoughtlessly implemented in Calgary. Our work is focused on 2 key areas of advocacy for upstream mitigation and the development of reasonable policy regarding land use and development that acknowledges that Calgary has been developed at the confluence of the Bow and Elbow rivers. With respect to upstream mitigation, a couple of weeks ago, Premier Prentice announced the provincial government's commitment to one of the 3 key mitigation infrastructures on the Bow, on the Elbow watershed, being the Springbank diversion. Certainly that clear and definitive statement, the first that we've heard from any level of government, was welcome news. But no one will really believe it until construction actually begins. So given that Calgarians expect their inner city and downtown to be protected from the next inevitable flood, and that the Springbank diversion will not be sufficient to address historical water flows, which is what we expect, we asked each candidate to discuss which additional infrastructure project or projects they would champion and why. And very much related to this is the current initiative to create a floodway development regulation under the new legislation called the Flood Recovery and Reconstruction Act. If you're not familiar with this, you should be familiar with it as soon as possible. We have significant concerns with this, principally that this initiative is proceeding before upstream mitigation projects have been completed, including operational changes to infrastructure already on the Bow River, and before updates to the flood hazard mapping has been done. We also do not understand how Calgary is not granted the same exemption to these rules as has been granted for the downtowns of both Drumheller and Fort McMurray, which are significantly built within the floodway, not the flood fringe. So we asked each candidate to comment on their views on both the process to create new policy and its content. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So folks, we have, we'll start on my far left, your right, and John, you get the first shot at it. We'll just work our way this way, 3 minutes for each of you to answer that first question.
Well, I'd like to